When 12-year-old Kim Carter found herself facing the unimaginable, her family fought desperately to make her final wish come true. After weeks of effort, they were left in awe as her hero, Keanu Reeves, walked into her hospital room and embraced her. The story behind her wish will leave you in tears. Kim's life changed suddenly and drastically when she started feeling unusually tired and experiencing sharp pain in her bones. At first, her parents, Annabelle and Mark, brushed it off as nothing more than growing pains or perhaps exhaustion from school and sports. But as the symptoms persisted and worsened, they decided to take her to the doctor. What followed was every parent's worst nightmare. After a series of tests, they received the devastating news. Kim had been diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of leukemia. The diagnosis shattered their world, but through it all, Kim stayed hopeful. She faced the news with a determination that belied her young age. "We'll fight this, and I'll get better," she told her mom the day they came back from the hospital. And fight she did. Kim endured months of grueling chemotherapy and long hospital stays. Slowly, her once bright energy began to fade as the disease and the treatment took their toll on her body. But no matter how tired or weak she became, Kim never let go of her love for life or her dreams. One thing gave Kim strength through the hardest times. Keanu Reeves. She had always loved his movies, but after her diagnosis, he became more than just an actor to her. His quiet resilience and kindness during interviews struck a deep chord with her. "He's been through so much, but he's still so kind to everyone," she would often tell her family as they watched his films together in the hospital. For Kim, Keanu wasn't just a movie star, he was a symbol of perseverance. She read about the personal losses he had endured and how, despite the grief and hardships, he remained humble and compassionate. His interviews, where he spoke with gentle wisdom about life and loss, deeply inspired her. She saw a reflection of her own fight in his strength and resolve. Even as Kim's condition worsened, her spirit never wavered. She couldn't attend school or play outside with friends anymore, spending most of her days in a hospital room surrounded by machines. Yet she held on to the hope and courage she found in Keanu's movies and life story. "If he can keep going, so can I," she would remind herself, even on the darkest days. But as the months went by, the treatment stopped working. Her doctors gently informed her family that the leukemia had spread, leaving little chance for recovery. It was a heartbreaking reality for a child who had fought so hard. Still, Kim met the news with an incredible bravery that left everyone around her in awe. She didn't cry or ask, "Why me?" Instead, she spent her days comforting her parents, reminding them of all the beautiful memories they had shared. Her only request was heartbreakingly simple. She wanted to meet Keanu Reeves, the man whose strength had inspired her to keep going. Her mother, Annabelle, knew how much this meant to Kim. She had seen her daughter's face light up at the mere mention of his name, even on her worst days. Determined to make her daughter's dream come true, Annabelle launched a mission. She shared Kim's story on social media, reached out to friends and strangers alike, and contacted anyone who might be able to help. Meanwhile, Keanu Reeves was living a typically quiet day amidst his busy schedule. Known for avoiding the spotlight, he cherished moments of privacy and reflection. One afternoon, while scrolling through messages, an email from his publicist caught his attention. The subject line read, "You need to see this." Attached was a link to a social media post. Keanu clicked on it and began reading Kim's story. A 12-year-old girl bravely battling terminal leukemia and finding strength in him. The post had gone viral, but it wasn't just about a young girl battling illness. It was about her extraordinary strength and how Keanu Reeves had unknowingly become a beacon of hope during her darkest days. The story revealed how 12-year-old Kim Carter found comfort and resilience in his movies and interviews, seeing in him a reflection of her own quiet determination. Keanu read every word of the post carefully. It shared how Kim, despite facing terminal leukemia, had stayed hopeful, clinging to the inspiration she found in his life and work. She had fought so bravely, but now her final wish was heartbreakingly simple. She wanted to meet the man who had given her strength when she needed it most. Leaning back in his chair, Keanu was deeply moved. Over the years, he had read many touching stories, but Kim's journey struck a chord in a way he couldn't ignore. Perhaps it was because he, too, had walked through the fires of loss and pain. He understood grief on a personal level, having lost his daughter, his partner, and other loved ones. And those experiences had shaped him into someone who valued kindness and empathy above all else. Without hesitation, Keanu picked up the phone. He contacted his team and asked them to reach out to Kim's family. Logistics didn't matter, nor did the prospect of media attention. This wasn't about the spotlight. It was about bringing joy to a brave girl who had found strength in his story. For Keanu, this was a personal matter, something he wanted to handle quietly, away from the public eye. When Kim's mother, Annabelle, received the call, she could hardly believe it. "Are you serious? Keanu Reeves wants to meet Kim?" she asked, her voice trembling. The woman on the other end of the line assured her it was true. Keanu had been touched by Kim's story and wanted to meet her. Annabelle rushed to share the news with her daughter. When Kim heard, her face lit up with a joy her family hadn't seen in months. Despite her frailty, excitement danced in her eyes. "Keanu Reeves is coming to see me?" she whispered in disbelief. In that moment, her pain seemed to melt away, replaced by a pure, childlike wonder. The day of the visit arrived. Kim lay in her hospital bed, a blanket draped over her small frame, her anticipation shining through her pale face. She had barely slept the night before, not from discomfort, but from excitement. Down the hallway, Keanu walked alongside a nurse and hospital staff member. He had insisted on keeping the visit private. This wasn't about promotion or headlines. It was about fulfilling the wish of a young girl who had found solace in his work. As he neared the room, Keanu felt the weight of the moment settle over him. This wasn't about celebrity. It was about connection. He had read about Kim's incredible bravery and her unwavering spirit. Meeting her felt like an honor, a privilege to witness the strength of someone so young yet so resilient. The nurse knocked softly before opening the door, stepping aside to let Keanu enter. Annabelle looked up, her breath catching as she saw the man who had only ever existed on screen now standing in front of her. Calm and humble, just as Kim had always described him. "Hi, Kim," Keanu said gently, his voice soft but warm. "It's so nice to meet you." Kim's eyes filled with tears of joy as she looked up at him. She had imagined this moment countless times, but now that it was real, it felt even more magical. "You came," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Keanu walked to her bedside and knelt down, taking her small hand in his. "Of course I did," he replied softly, giving her hand a light squeeze. "How are you feeling today?" Kim smiled through her tears. "I'm okay," she said, though her frail body told a different story. Despite her weakness, her spirit shone brightly. "I've watched your movies so many times," she told him, her voice trembling with emotion. "They've helped me through some really hard days." Keanu's eyes glistened. "I'm honored to hear that," he said quietly. "I've heard so much about you, too. You're a fighter, Kim. You've been so strong." They talked for a while. Kim shared her love for animals and her dream of becoming a veterinarian. Keanu listened intently, his full attention on her. Despite the toll the illness had taken on her, her vibrant spirit shone through as she spoke, and it deeply moved him. At one point, Annabelle stepped out of the room to give them privacy. She stood in the hallway, tears streaming down her face as she watched Keanu speak with her daughter. His kindness and patience were evident, even from a distance. Inside, their conversation shifted to Kim's favorite movie of his. "The Matrix," she said without hesitation. "I love how Neo never gives up, even when everything is against him." Keanu nodded thoughtfully. "You know," he said gently, "the thing about Neo is that he doesn't just fight for himself. He fights for the people he loves. He finds his strength in that. And I see that in you, Kim. You're strong because of how much you love your family and how much they love you." Kim looked down, tears welling in her eyes. "I just didn't want to leave them too soon," she whispered. Keanu leaned closer, his voice soft but steady. "You've given them more than you'll ever know," he said. "Your strength and courage. That's something they'll carry with them forever. And they'll always have you in their hearts." As their conversation came to a close, Keanu gently leaned in and hugged Kim. She wrapped her frail arms around him as best she could. In that embrace, an unspoken connection passed between them, one of love, hope, and peace. For Kim, it was more than a hug from her hero. It was a moment of comfort, validation, and profound understanding. For Annabelle, it was a memory she would cherish forever. Her daughter's wish had been fulfilled, and in her final days, she found a peace that went beyond words. Kim's journey and her connection with Keanu Reeves left an indelible mark on everyone who heard the story. Keanu, too, carried the memory with him. He later reflected on how meeting Kim wasn't about celebrity or admiration, it was about shared humanity. Her courage inspired him, and he remained quietly reflective, grateful to have been a small light in her extraordinary life. For Kim, the love and kindness she experienced in her final days were the truest gifts of all, a reminder that even in the face of loss, connection and compassion endure.